What is up, guys? It's your boy, Jim Rat Crypto. I like when I say it like this better. It's your boy, GRC. Let's get it back on that. It's your boy, GRC. We're live every single day at 11 a.m. Eastern, and we're talking crypto. And we're talking the most, pretty much as dense information as you could possibly find, at least that I can find, because that's all that stimulates my little rat brain. Okay? Because I have mental problems. Guys, let's get to the chat for a second, because I never do that when I have guests, and it's rude of me. And no, that is just a little rubber band thing, so don't. Warden, you first to the chat, as always. Great to see you. PDC, I mean, come on. Iron Hex, GRC is a beast as well. The countdown begins. GRC Sam, want to have a transformational story for a working class dude? I'll do whatever you tell me to do. That sounds gay. Just kidding. No, I don't exactly know what you mean, but DM me. Monica, great to see you as always. System failure, Arch Hexagon. Nice streams lighting up today, GRC. Yeah, guys, and in the 1 p.m. stream with Freddie, that's not a FUD stream. I'm just going to talk to Freddie. I don't know any of the shit that goes on. And, you know, I like to keep up with the Joneses. It's your boy. Rip City, Melv Tony, Hexagon Papa, Tea Time, great to see you. Melv Tony, ooh, 5-cent Hex, guys. Perma Bull, bang, bang, bang. Hex, good to see you guys. Good morning, people. The Pulse Tube, hey, I got to shout you out, the Pulse Tube. I haven't shouted you out yet. Soon. I got to line that up in the background. Guys, we got Jesse from Power City / my friend / very good at helping Jim Rat learn things. And he does it quick, too. There's not many guys. I'm just like, please, just punchline, punchline, punchline. Like, for me, like, that's rare. I like those guys. Jesse's one of those guys. I don't have to look into him. I could just talk to him. You know what I'm saying? Guys, we're here every single day at 11 a.m. Eastern. This is Crypto in the Morning.
You already know what time it is.
Crypto in the morning.
Crypto in the morning.
Crypto in the morning.
Waiting on phone.
Crypto in the morning. Crypto in the morning.
Ready to take notes.
Crypto in the morning.
Crypto in the morning.
Crypto in the morning.
Waiting on phone.
Crypto in the morning. Crypto in the morning.
Ready to take notes.
Smoking no blunt on my way to the gym. 11 a.m. and I'm already tuned in. Got me some hex and I'm making a stake. Got me some heads on, I'm making it rain. Pay me some maxi and that just in case. Jim Rat sent me to show you the way.
D5 Pro. Yeah.
Crypto in the morning.
Crypto in the morning.
Crypto in the morning.
Waiting on phone.
Crypto in the morning. Crypto in the morning.
Ready to take notes.
Crypto in the morning.
Crypto in the morning.
Crypto in the morning.
Waiting on phone.
Crypto in the morning. Crypto in the morning.
Ready to take notes.
Yo, what's Gucci, bro? How you doing, man?
Computer finally started up.
Like slam. First thing in the morning.
How you doing? I'm looking forward to this conversation. I always enjoy our conversations with Jesse. I'm assuming.
Oh, no, you have no idea. You have no idea. You have no idea. You have no idea. So you just sit back and you just talk, all right? You just do your thing this morning, all right? Seriously, because this is a treat. I'm trying to get a little more intellectual stimulation on here for your boy Jim Rat's mental condition, where he gets bored extremely easily. And Sam kind of gets bored easily too when it comes to like the intellectual stimulation. You don't need it all the time, but I need a little chunk of that. You know what I mean? I need a little chunk of that. And Jesse's the perfect guy for it. So let's invite him on. I'm going to play the transition. I'm going to click the button. We're going to switch over.
Jesse, what's good, bro?
What's up?
Hey, good seeing you, dude. How you been?
I've been good.
You want to give people an update because last time we chatted, you were in the middle of a transition, right? Of some in your life and stuff like that, if you're not comfortable or whatever, but maybe just on the project side of things, you want to give an update on like what's going on with things like that and see how you're doing with all that stuff?
Yeah. So I'm pushing full steam ahead with Power City. We're working on a lot of things. People need to understand the stuff going on over at Power City. It's like services for Pulse Chain. It's not like a meme coin or like a tax coin or just like a random like Safe Moon copy or stuff like that. What you're gonna see over there is things that allow you to do things with other protocols. So it's a little bit unique, right? You're gonna see something that allows you to make efficient use of yield farming over in PulseX. You're going to see something that allows you to auto compound your stuff over at Liquid Loans. You're going to see stuff that allows you to more efficiently create NFT collections and then put them up in marketplaces. And then what's the benefit of all this? Like, well, if you participate in the protocol in the core, you collect the fees for each of these services. So it's not a simple, meme coin. It's like an entire ecosystem that allows you that just gives you a bunch of tools on the blockchain.
Now, I want to snap back real quick because I just want to say something and it's very relevant. So Sam understands that Power City, and I'm saying Sam because he has had a stronger point on this than me. I'm just not been thought about it so much. He knows Power City. I think this is Sam's perspective, and he can correct me. I think he thinks Power City as a thing is cool and like it works and it's not a meme coin, but I just think he thinks it's like branching on a few different things and it's like stretching itself really wide. Can you kind of just play on that for us, just for me and Sam, like just because that topic's interesting to me?
Yeah. So my suggestion for you is wait. Watch what happens. You're gonna see soon 2 things pop out that people will be able to play with on testnet. We're working on 4 different things at the moment. They're not all going to launch at the same time, but soon you'll be able to see 2 things pop out that you'll be able to play with. So is it stretching itself thin? Well, we have a good sized dev team. One of our devs, Tuba,
is what's a good size just for a pleb?
Well, I think the Pixel Park has like 19 different people working on it or something. Between our core devs and then some contracted devs, it's a substantial team.
I think if you publish that information, that would excite people.
It's a huge build, and it's gonna have some tools that other NFT platforms don't have.
Because in my head, like just from like a marketing perspective, in my head, I just would have assumed, even if it was going to be the best thing in the world, like it would just be like one like dude in his basement, like just like coding. And if I knew it was like 11 dudes like rocking and rolling, I'd be like, well, those guys, watch those guys. If they make good moves, like watch out.
It doesn't seem to add
every major protocol that's ever existed has had more than one dev work on it. Right now, you do see.
I don't think that's true.
Why?
I don't know. I'm just thinking about numbers and logic in my head, and that's not adding up.
Okay.
There's not one protocol.
If you look at Curve, you look at Aave, you look at Compound, you look at Liquidy, look at even Hex had a dev team behind. Richard. Richard, hired them and told them what to do, but it had a substantial dev team.
You're probably right.
Pulse chain. Of course, blockchains require a whole bunch of people. Maker. How about 1inch or how about Uniswap? Like there's teams. There's entire teams of devs that get together.
Goes for YouTube channels. Like I know guys that have YouTube channels that this is no different. This is about mass appeal and people. And I know guys that have YouTube channels, and you know those guys too, Sam, because you are one of those guys. But like some of these dudes just blow up for whatever reason. They never hire a damn person. They edit all day long, and they sit there and ruin their entire life. They'd still do it with a smile on their face. It would ruin my life, I should say. But so there are sick fuckers in this world that do torment themselves with work. And I wouldn't say like, I just think that's a weird category, being that it's totally possible for a single person to do this. Like, I think you would even know that. It wouldn't be logical, but like you could do it.
I mean, I'm sure there's a project or two projects or multiple projects that have one person behind them. I wouldn't be surprised.
But 11 is a best ton.
But like, yeah, talking about from GRC's point though, I think that credit, like for a lot of people to understand, like, oh, there's 11 people working on this. D1 does this type of thing. D2 does this type of thing. D3 does this type of thing. This is what this team is working on. I think does add like a certain level of credibility to that. A bit like what they're working on.
But anyway, that's not the point. I'm trying to get in the Power City vibe myself. Like, I'm just trying to vibe with it. You know what I mean? Like, and that doesn't happen just by like Jesse saying like, I might buy some. That ain't ever out of the question when we're talking about finances. But I'm trying to get in, I want to get involved. You know what I mean, Jesse? I'm trying to feel it. I want to feel it. I want to feel it.
Yep. So one thing that I'm working on now that I'm like full-time over there, we've got to ramp up our social media, like our YouTube. I want to get to the point where we're educating the community, and not just Power City stuff. I mean, you want to learn about bridges? We'll do a segment on bridges. You want to learn about liquidity pools? We'll do a segment on that. You want to learn about what's going on in the market? Well, jump on Power City, because they'll have, an update once every few days, what's going on in the markets. I want it to be like educational in nature, but with the Power City hat on.
Well, you tell those motherfuckers to get going. You take one of those devs and you steal all his money and give it to GRC, and I'll do it. No, I'm not kidding. Come on, I'm not kidding about it. I want to see it, because tell them that we got to get GRC motivated, because I like to get motivated about stuff that's awesome, Jesse. Like, and I want to feel like Power City is awesome, and I do not feel like it's not awesome. By the way, I just don't know. I want like let's say, just for an example, like Hedron and Icosa, right? Pretty nuanced information. I'm a pretty weird guy, so I read into a lot of things, but I get excited. You know what I mean? Opportunity, stuff to do, new technology. I want to get excited. I want to see people talking for realsies about this shit, like one-on-one.
Is the biggest thing you see with Power City is it that it's just like there's so many tentacles that people don't have any fucking clue what it is?
No, it's different. So look, the other stuff that's launching on Pulse Chain is pretty much forks of something, right? So you've got a fork of Aave, you've got a fork of Liquidity, you've got even PulseX is really a fork of like Pancake Swap. Like this stuff, you can go out and you can tell the community all the little intricate little details of what's going on, because it's it already exists somewhere else. It's just under a different name. Power City is not a fork of anything. It's not an Ohm fork. It's not a DAO. It's literally a complete new architecture. Some of the things that you'll find in Power City, the way the staking mechanism works, or the tools available in the NFT platform and what they allow you to do. These are unique, and we are holding some of that close to our chest, because the last thing we want to do is announce to the world this really cool stuff, and then just have the other protocols say, oh wait, that's a great idea, let's add that into ours. Okay, so there will be a shock and wow factor when this thing launches, and even in the testnet versions, when these things launch on testnet and you can play around with them and people go, ooh, holy cow, how come I've never been able to do that before? Well, we also understand that the other protocols are going to be eyeing that and saying, oh, how come we didn't think of that? But they'll have to play catch up. That's fine.
Is there any like cool centralized alpha, like origin address like could potentially fucking make everything awesome kind of shit?
No, so it's everything's community driven. So it's everything in Power City is simply a service that you pay a fee to do, and then those fees go to the core stakers. Some of the fees, of course, go to the team to fund things that need to be funded, but it's not like, oh, hey, there's this crazy address over here that's manipulating liquidity or doing big giant buys and giving exit liquidity to
Hey,
you.
you kind of learn that's a
Like-
part of crypto too, which is kind of interesting, like little nuance. Sam, do you know what I mean with that? Like you learn about, like, because Richard tells us centralized ownership is the way a lot of good things work. He doesn't say it's how everything fucking works. He says, look at a lot of these good things that work because of this, and they work like better than everything ever, anything ever created. But there's trust there. And then that gets
That's an interesting concept. It's an interesting concept. Whenever he says that, I have to stop and I have to think about it for like 30 minutes. So let's just briefly think about what centralized ownership does. If one guy holds an exorbitant amount of coins of something, if the price goes down, even if that guy's not selling, the price still goes down. The only way for that guy to move the price would be if he brings fresh money in and buys new coins. So what does the exorbitant amount of coins that he's holding doing nothing actually do for the price?
just pinches the supply off to make it a reasonable
Okay.
thing.
So if those coins didn't exist at all, if they were burned out of existence, that would literally do the same thing.
Yeah, I agree. I know.
But it's more so to do with like the leadership, in my opinion, right? Because like
Okay, so if we're speaking like Hex, for example, Hex isn't a governance protocol, so you can't. It's not like you can use it.
But the only thing that works in crypto is adoption, right? So if you have somebody, if I don't have like ownership of something, it's cool and shit, but like I'm not, that's not my thing. It's somebody else's thing, and I maybe own a small slice of it. Well, that person can do the majority of the work on that kind of thing. If I own the majority of the company, then I'm doing that work because I want that shit to fucking grow, right? So when it comes to that, like that is where it comes from the leadership standpoint. Continuing,
but it gives you manipulatability within crypto, too, right?
It does. With something that's stakeable. It does two things. There's like two things you can do if you have a huge supply and your intent is never to sell them. But why would you want a huge supply if you're never going to sell them? There's two things you can do. You can choose to stake or not stake to lower or raise other people's APY. So you can dilute them or undilute them, right? So that you can kind of control what the yield is going to be. Okay, that's one thing you can do. The other thing you can do is just take a huge sum of them and be the primary liquidity provider. And you can put liquidity in or take liquidity away, thin those pools or thicken those pools at the right times so that other people's purchases have the greatest impact on price.
This is very true. Dive into that a little bit, because that's 100% true. Like when things are happening, you can increase, like, so if there's a bull market going on and I'm providing liquidity, but I would prefer the bags go up faster by removing liquidity, then everybody's purchase has a bigger impact on that. Now you can do the same thing in reverse, right? So that when there is a lot of sell pressure, you can increase the liquidity of there, and then it has less of a dampening effect.
But all you're doing is giving it's interesting because if you added a bunch of liquidity at the top, you're providing exit liquidity for people. You're putting in your coin paired to USDC, for example, and allowing people to sell you more of their coins and take away your USDC. So all you're doing is giving away a bunch of free money.
It's a whoopsie.
Yep.
It's a whoopsie. That's a big whoopsie. Yeah, on the way down, crypto becomes valueless. Like in a moment, like, you know what I mean? When it starts going, it's like Nobody's going to buy this asset right now. This moment, this thing literally has no value. No one's buying it at this second. Like whatever's happening right now, 2 or 3 people sell. So it's pretty crazy. It's all just a liquidity game. Like it's all just like numbers that confuse.
The only thing price cares about at all is the ratio in the pool.
Mm-hmm.
So,
People
for
don't
example, I was looking at a meme coin that just launched the other day. I'm not going to say the name of it.
Come on,
But
say
it-
it. I want to know what the fuck it is.
I went and I looked at how much liquidity there was, and there was like $2,500 worth of USDC. And I thought, wow. So if I bought
That could
5,
change a homeless surfer's life, dude.
but if you try and go and buy like $5,000 worth, you'll like, we'd have to run the math. You would probably 100x the price or something by putting in $5,000.
Before all that happens, it goes to zero. Because
That's what's up with Hedron right now. You buy $500, like $500 of Hedron, and you've got like 1 or 2% slippage.
I think it's 1%.
1% slippage.
Yeah, but the thing about Hedron is that there are things that's like, future projection, more people in the market. It's tied to a great asset off the B share. So people are excited about that potential of it surviving. I don't think any of us would be surprised for downward pressure in Hedron. Super risk on. But we know on the other side, even if there is no liquidity, and I'm going to stop talking soon. Okay. But when there is no liquidity and it just starts flying and it becomes helicopter money inflated until forever, you just slowly take it out into Hex and sell it because that's where the liquidity is. It's it's just all just a fucking double back system on which has less liquidity, but you trust. Anything with less liquidity that people trust, they're going to move their funds into if they think the market's going up.
Yeah. Low liquidity, you're going to eat a bunch of slippage down at the bottom over time. Here's what you need to happen. So let's think about liquid loans for a minute. So initially, people are going to be minting that USDL, right? But the liquidity for USDL is going to be thin at first. At first, not saying it's always going to be that way.
Yep.
So if you go and you're like, oh, here's a USDL paired to USDC pool, but I want to sell, $50,000 worth of USDL, and I'm going to eat, 5% of the price action because the liquidity is so thin. Okay. That kind of sucks. So over time, what you want to happen is like participants have to add liquidity. Go to PulseX, and not just USDL, but any coin. If you want to not have massive ups and downs and be impacted negatively, when you go to sell, you have to have thick liquidity. So maybe the best option to sell is participate on both sides. Be a seller or a buyer, but also go be a liquidity provider. Like the more liquidity gets added to things, the more stable those things become.
But then
if you go look at USDC or
how much of crypto is something getting stable to the point where no one wants to buy it? Or is that just all like there's so many stupid people that they'll buy whatever because it's popular kind of stuff? Like, you know what I mean? Like we say we don't want to buy Bitcoin because there's so much liquidity and the price won't move anymore. That's why I don't buy Bitcoin. And once Hex gets to the point where I'm not buying it anymore because it doesn't move very fast anymore. It's just like where we're at in time.
Okay, so the hopes are still that other people, so you're just taking advantage of other people. So you want to buy early, you don't want to be a liquidity provider, but you want other people to go start adding liquidity.
Yeah.
Right?
Well,
that's what everybody wishes.
Well, that's just how it works. I'm not, I don't make I'm not God. I just try to follow the rules here. Like people trade and nobody has a heart out there. They'll walk over your dead body. So you
always want people to buy after you. You always want people to add liquidity after you so you can have exit liquidity.
Yes.
And so when you do sell, you don't have a 5% or 10% slippage. Like the whole idea is you always want other people. But at what point do you say, well, it's actually profitable if I become a liquidity provider and assist the other people, and assist in making the market? Like,
But it's not. It's like a use case difference. It's like, why does that have to be about making the market better? Why can't it just be about making $2,100 a day? Like $2,100 a day in cash can make you not have to work anymore. So it's just like, instead of thinking of it as any, like, I don't think people would ever provide liquidity for any kind of obligatory. Maybe you get that rich. I've never been that rich. Maybe you do get that rich, because you could see how that would be outside of my scope. Like, how I would never
if
get.
if you have millions and millions, if you have millions of dollars worth of crypto,
Yeah.
it's probably responsible of you to take a portion of that and provide liquidity somewhere, because you're hoping that other people do that for you. So why would you not take a portion of your bag and do the same thing?
Well, why is there a responsibility word? Sam, can you touch on this? Because I could be totally fucking wrong. I have no goddamn clue what I'm talking about, and this is not financial advice. And I'm live every single day, by the way. But Sam, what do you think about that point in general? Like, when I like to play the market as if it's a game, I don't care what the rules are. I don't make the fucking rules. I want to get in there and take advantage so I can make my impact bigger in general.
Mhm.
I don't care about the fucking shit. I just want give me the stuff so I can get on with the reality. For me, what do you think?
I don't know if they think a lot of people think of it as a responsibility. I think that, like, if there's people that do it to, like, exit and enter positions if you're using, Ethereum, but I think more so people are just doing that, like, hey, I see the market going down further. I've got $14 million sitting here. It is not doing me diddly squat. It's going down in value because it's pegged to the dollar, and the dollar's trash. So I would like to earn some yield on that. So they provide liquidity that way. I don't know, because I'm not there. It could be different when you get there. 1,000%. I could be 100% wrong.
It's a very small amount of people, but impactful, but small amount of humans.
Correct. So it's possible that people think of it as a responsibility. I think that percentage of people is probably really small, personally. But I could be wrong. Jesse, what do you think? I don't think that a lot of people honestly view it as a responsibility to, or even think that it will benefit them other than earning additional yield. Like, if they got $6 million sitting there, cool. I'm going to take $1 million and put it into 4 different pools and earn yield on this, so my money is not just losing to inflation.
Well, do you want to buy from the market, or do you want to be the market?
The casino game. Like, do you want to play in the casino, or do you want to be the casino? And that's what we say, but why wouldn't we all just provide LP all the time and just earn yield that way? Because if you do that and then you just take the gains from the crypto in general, it's like, why don't more people?
Because you have
me and Sam have been talking about this for a long time, by the way. I'm fucking confused.
You still have to be very smart about it. But like Sam brought up a good point. People use it to exit positions. So instead of going to dump the price of a token you like, just say, oh, I'm just going to go sell a bunch on Uniswap. You could, if you have a sum of another coin like ETH or USDC or something, just go be a liquidity provider. And if it's a bull market and people are buying things up and the price is going up for months and months and months, you can rest assured that if it's a good token you're holding, people are going to be buying that from you and leaving you ETH or USDC or whatever from the other side. It's like you can exit your position that way. But you have to be careful, and you still have to know, okay, are we in a bull market or are we in a bear market? If your intent is to sell out of a position and use liquidity providing to do it, you would want to do that in a bull market. Because in a bear market, you're just going to be left with a whole bunch of coins that you were trying to get rid of to begin with. Right? Because everyone's going to be dumping their tokens for your USDC. So it's like, well, I tried to use this to exit my position and it didn't really work. And now I have more coins than I started with.
But you can also flip it on the head, because it is inverse slightly, right? Because if a lot, if Uniswap allowed you to put in kind of like a range order, but below the market, so you're all in one coin, and if it does change, then it flips you. It works great from an acquisition standpoint, right? Like you set up your range, but the market's falling. Well, you want to buy the thing that's falling anyway because you're bullish on that thing, right? But that's an acquisition strategy versus like an exit strategy to do that. I feel like if they come out with V4 for Uniswap, there's going to be more things to play with because that's a very unique thing that other dexes don't have, and that's not in Legacy at all, where they could expand on the capabilities of what.
Right. You remember how like Charlie Munger or something said, or maybe it was Warren Buffett, when everybody's hungry and buying, you should be selling. When everybody's selling, you should be buying.
Yes,
Liquidity providing does exactly that. When you're providing liquidity, you're essentially selling while other people are buying. And the inverse of that in the other direction as well. So you're doing exactly what, billionaires like Charlie Munger and Warren Buffett tell you to do. Because eventually, if there's too many people buying, it's going to top out. It's going to come back down again. So I just invite people to research liquidity providing. Understand that you can have impermanent loss. So understand those risks, but consider it at least for your strategy for exiting or for accumulating.
I think it's important to bring up, and I'm going to highlight a couple of things before we continue the conversation. Like every single hexagon that I asked about liquidity providing months and months and months ago, when I just was like not even knowing what it was, told me, if you're not a whale, that's not important. So I didn't think about it for 3 more months because I wasn't a whale. And then Sam was like, what the fuck are these guys talking about? They can't do math too good. And I was like,
so what's that? But there's no difference between one whale and
no, but you don't even need 10 fucking grand to make a killing in liquidity providing in a sideways.
Right. What's the difference between 10 people who throw in a little bit and one shark?
Yeah, because you can't think about it from the liquidity side, like, oh, they're doing a service. Think about the use case. Come on. Like, let's think about the money you're going to be making so you don't have to work anymore. Right, Sam? Like,
I mean, I think of like 40%
Uniswap out, you were like, oh, fantastic.
I'm earning over 10% a month versus 40% a year with money that I can't utilize, right? For Hex. Cool. I understand the value prop there. Still 10% a month plus versus 40% a year that I can't touch, right?
Yeah.
So like, to me, it's like, I'm okay.
Well,
cool.
people just don't understand because telling the world to stake Hex is a good idea.
It is correct.
Telling Sam to provide liquidity with 10% of his bag and make $2,100 a month is also a good idea. But people that listen to these things are passively listening, not 100% engaged on occasion, which you don't have to be, but you're going to make positions and then you're going to screen record me. And then I'm going to punch you in the face when I see you. And so that's like, you know what I mean though? And I would never do that. It was a total joke, but like, you know what I mean? Like, it's just like, that's why we're going, like, we're doing private shit, Jesse. Like, we're setting it up. Like, I'm not fucking talking about all this shit. Like, I'm getting too good with it. Everything that you've said over the last 20 minutes has been pretty obvious to me. And I'm not saying that from a standpoint of like, but like, I'm getting there. You know what I mean? I'm getting there in my mind. If this information is hard for people to understand, then I'm starting to get above that bar because it's starting to seem like it's easy to understand to me. You know what I mean? Like once you start realizing, thinking something is easy to understand when you used to think it was impossible to understand, it's like, this is the most simple concept ever. I just never saw it before. Mm-hmm. No one ever told me. And
let's shift to liquidation mechanisms, maybe.
Go.
Okay. People have seen a lot of different stablecoins fail lately. But it's not just stablecoins. There's actually lending protocols that are failing. Lending protocols, for example, Ben DAO the other day. Ben DAO was a way that you could collateralize your NFT and then draw a loan out against the value of your NFT. Completely collapsed, right? headed to zero. Same thing happened with Luna. Happened with could literally potentially happen to die. Most of these lending protocols have a fatal flaw in them, or a couple fatal flaws. It helps to understand the difference between different types of liquidations. So what is a liquidation, first off? When you put up collateral and you get a loan against it, your collateral must always be worth more than the value that you get for your loan. Whether your loans die or USDC or USDT or LUSD, USDL, whatever it is, your collateral that you put up, you want like the protocol to remain healthy, your collateral has to be worth more than your loan. Now, what ends up happening is the markets will go down, the value of people's collateral goes down, and eventually gets almost to the value of what that person's already got in the form of a loan. And the protocols have different liquidation points, right? Where it says, oh, wait a minute, we have to take this person's collateral and we have to go do something with it. Now, this is where there's two different ways to handle liquidation. One is an auction process where your collateral that you put up, whether it's an NFT or it's Ethereum or whatever it is, gets taken away because you already have that value up front. You already got, USDC or whatever you got in the form of your loan. You already got that up front. So your collateral gets taken away at a certain point. Sometimes it's 30% over the value of your loan. Sometimes it's, 50% over. In the case of Liquidity, it's only 10% over. But your collateral gets taken away. Now, protocols that use an auction process, it takes your collateral and it places it into an auction. Sometimes those auctions take 6 hours. Sometimes they take a month. Sometimes they take 90 days. Sometimes, but there's always a length of time where people are allowed to bid to purchase your collateral. And what they're doing essentially is they're paying your debt. They're backing your loan by buying your collateral that was in the auction.
Mm-hmm.
And then your loan goes away. You were liquidated. You were actually liquidated at the point your collateral was taken away, but your liquidated collateral still needs to be sold to cover the value of your loan.
Is it possible that I'll never have to deal with that in my life?
Yes.
I've never dealt with any liquidation position, nor do I ever feel. I mean, I guess I could get liquidated on my house if I didn't pay for it. But other than that, I don't want to deal with these things where the money goes away forever because all my stuff makes more.
Don't use any lending in crypto then.
I don't want to unless I get to the point where it's 5% of my stack and it's a loan, and then I don't have to pay taxes on it. Then I'll think about it.
Right. So, all right. So let's think about this for a second, because you just saw this with Ben Dow. What happened was,
what is that?
Ben Dow is like a NFT. You can go lend NFTs, or you can go like put them up as collateral and take a loan out against it.
It's like
so if you had an NFT that was worth like $100,000, you can put it up in the protocol and get a loan.
Holy shit, that is a rug.
But there's stablecoin protocols that do the same thing. Like MakerDAO does the same thing. You can put up,
but NFTs don't have any volume. So it's just like whoever's last is just like, whoops, I have the thing now. You can like count the buys and sells on your like fingers and toes for the week.
Right.
So like, it's to be honest. Like, that's
look what happens. Look what happens. The value of these things start going down. Maybe it's MakerDAO, for example, and the value of ETH is going down and down and down. Somebody gets liquidated because they already got a loan up front. their ETH goes away, or their NFT if it's like BenDAO or something, and it goes into an auction pool where people can bid on it. But what happens if nobody bids? Or what happens if people don't bid enough? Or what happens if the bidding process, like it literally, that is the fatal flaw in any of these auction-based liquidation mechanisms. If the markets believe that it's a top for something, nobody's going to bid, or they're going to bid less than the thing is.
Yeah.
Then the thing is worth to cover the loan. Yep. And when that happens, it sends these protocols into a death spiral where everybody starts selling out because none of the loan has any real value behind it, because the collateral is worth less, because it's proving to be worth less because of the price people are paying at auction for it. So the loan itself, the thing people got.
Well, where'd Jesse go? He's going to be back in a second.
In Baltimore, they call that 1099 shots fired. No, I'm just kidding. Guys, he'll get right back. I'm sure he'll hop right back on. Sam, we're getting deep, man, and it's not even complicated, and it's scary. It's really scary. It's starting to become not complicated to me. You've probably felt this phenomenon before, where you're kind of like, oh, they pretend it's really complicated and it's not complicated at all. And you're just like, whoopsie. What do you think?
Well, so I think, I don't know where he's going to be going with this, but I have a feeling it's going to be pointing towards having that buffer pool. So if you think about getting liquidated in crypto, there's, like he was saying, there's multiple different ways you could get liquidated. Say with liquid loans, your shit is just given to the stability pool. If you have some of these other protocols, they go up for auction, meaning if you stop paying for your house, right, the bank puts that up for auction. They say you owe $150,000 on your property, but because it's a shithole, or because it's going up for bank auction, people are only going to buy it for 150, 140, meaning the bank could still lose money on that. And that's what he's kind of getting to here. It seemed like.
You want me to get, since we ran too long, I will kind of cut to the chase for you because we talked beforehand a little bit. We're kind of, just think auctions. He's going to start talking about the word auction soon. He's not going to say HSI auctions. He's going to just say auctions. And I think that's a way that you can get liquidated is what he's trying to get at in that circumstance where there is that auction. You know what I mean? He's saying that there maybe is like I don't know exactly what he's saying. I'm kind of trying to put it together, but it's not, again, when I'm talking to Jesse, I'm asking him the hardest question in the background. Like when I'm asking him everything, and he's like, I don't want to, like, I'm just trying, and I'm just like, please just tell me how you see it, Jesse. Please just tell me how you see it. Sometimes, you know what I mean? That's what I tell the guys. I don't care. I don't give a shit what he tells me. I want to know so I can get on with it. But Jesse's back, guys. Jesse, I kind of gave Sam a mini scoop on what we were talking about before. I mentioned the word auction. That's all I'm going to say. You go from where you were at before.
All right. So now we understand what happens in an auction. There is a real risk that the price people are willing to pay to buy the collateral is not enough to cover the loan.
Yep.
Okay. Now, or the auction process takes so long that the collateral value just keeps going down and falls underneath the value of the loan people got.
Correct.
Okay. And then you have upside down loans, and then you have bank runs, and these things go to zero. Now, in the case of liquidity and liquid loans, here's what's unique. That entire risk is gone. Because instead of an auction, you have this thing called a stability pool, which essentially is all the money up front to cover liquidations prior to them ever falling underneath the value of the loans people got. So people's collateral gets liquidated just before the value of their collateral falling underneath of the value of their loan. the money's already up front, the capital's already sitting there, and it instantly happens. Instantly. There's no auction process to wait for. There's no waiting for people to place all their different bids, and potentially their bids are too low. The money's there, it's waiting, and the entire loan gets paid off in a split second. And
I like that.
And that's called a stability pool. So when you look at lending protocols or stablecoin protocols in particular, just understand that auction process is the fatal flaw. These things can last for a while, and then until people decide not to bid anymore. Okay? Liquid loans, quite a bit different. You have an incentivized stability pool. All the capital is sitting there waiting. Just in case there's a liquidation, that money is already there to cover.
Sam, drop something for us. Where are you at with this? And maybe keep it a little bit elementary if you can.
So think about when you we don't do this today, but you used to pay for magazines, right? And it was you get 12 magazines, you get one magazine per month, and or 24 magazines if you're doing 2 years, and you'd pay that up front, right? If you were paying $1 a magazine, you pay that up front. So one way to kind of think about the stability pool is that you, instead of paying $24 for 24 magazines, you're paying, say, $20 for 24 magazines. So the stability pool is effectively prepaying for your magazines. You're paying for 24 magazines upfront today over the next 2 years. The stability pool is just like this buffer, this prepaying for this shit for liquidations. Does
it come off the fees?
It comes off because it's getting liquidated at 110, so there's a 10%.
No, I know, but where does the premium in the magazine discount arrive from?
The Jesse, that's from the 10% from the liquidations, correct?
Yeah, so vaults would always get liquidated at the 110% mark, the 110% of the value of the loan people have gotten. So that's 10% over. And that's the premium that the stability providers collect. So instead of an auction, right, where people could choose not to bid, or they underbid, or they're like, oh, let me auction so I can get a 5% or 10% or 30% or whatever. People get hungry at these auctions. They think that they're going to get a deal at 30%, 40%, 50%, a deal that might never come. But in the stability pool, it's a simple 10% every time. The stability pool
less front running and less liquidation.
Accumulates 10% over the value of what they pay to cover the loan. Every time it's fixed. Well, it's not really fixed because somebody's got to hit the liquidation, but
it's more of an open system that's ready for the future rather than like a front ran system. Like a lot of problems that I'm finding in crypto in general, no names mentioned, of course, is that it's like, yeah, I know I can get rich on all this shit now because all I have to do is study all day, and like they're just all like scamming each other. But if you learn it, if you're the fourth guy to learn it, you can make a lot of money. And it sucks. It's like I don't do it really, but like you see it, you start to realize like, yeah, if I double down on that rather than this show, let's say, just like, running around trying to get every single deal and every single airdrop, it's kind of like, you know what I mean? A little bit. I kind of forgot.
No, I think this is fascinating. The nuance that Jesse's bringing forth right here, because if it's accurate, right? You'll be able to remove some of that risk, whether that comes in the form of, the psychology of the person thinking they're going to get a deal at an auction, the time frame, and then the market volatility associated with whatever time frame is chosen, right? Because shit can drop by a lot over the course of a week. If the auction lasts a week or 30 days, right, shit can change substantially. So these can all have a great impact on the protocol or like the underlying thing there. But by adding that buffer, that prepaying for your shit in advance, but now having a fixed or relatively less variable amount of return, but just consistent, going to that pool. Jesse, do you see this being, because this is valid what you're saying, I agree completely. Do you see this being a model? Because I see this being a model that other protocols are going to start adopting like this. If you
want to avoid a death spiral, have all the capital up front ready to absorb. That's it. It's that simple. And then, so that's literally the beauty of liquid loans. The capital is up front in the stability pool in case any accounts are liquidated. It's ready. It's instant. Loans get paid. Protocol continues on. There's no auction. There's no that risk is completely gone. The other beauty of the protocol is the redemption mechanism, where you're always guaranteed $1 worth of pulse for each USDL that you have. So if you're holding USDL, you can bring that back into the protocol, and it will literally give you $1 worth of pulse for it. And what that does is that it creates an arbitrage opportunity. If the value of USDL ever falls underneath $1, it won't be for very long, because wouldn't you sure like to scoop some up at 97 cents and turn around a minute later and get $1 worth of pulse for it? Of course you would, right? So that mechanism there holds the peg, and then the liquidation part preserves the protocol from a death spiral.
Do you see this type of framework being utilized for, what are some other areas where this type of thing could be impactful, right? We know the lending protocols, like we've seen a fucking 1,000 of them drop this year. But that type of thing being implemented creates a giant buffer so that the fail point isn't that liquidation.
Yeah, you could do this with any lending protocol. You could have a pool that people can throw some crypto into, so that if there's any liquidations, some of your assets you threw into the pool get burned, but you pick up the thing. Now, it doesn't work with NFTs because you can't split an NFT up across a pool of participants. So there's no real,
unless if I have an NFT and then I put it into a protocol and that NFT is wrapped with another quote NFT, or just put into another wrapper of sorts that has 4 pieces, or 3 pieces, then you could own a third, I could own a third, and GRC could own a third.
Correct.
And that could be done within the protocol, right?
Correct. Yep.
Jesus.
Right. That would be an interesting way of
Well, we were kind of alluding to that yesterday, and I'm gonna give you. We got 3 minutes left here. You mentioned the word auctions a bunch of times. Everyone's getting excited about the HSI auctions. Do you see something there that maybe you just want, like, at least for me, you should inform me if it's your obligation to the Lord to inform me. To please inform me on what you feel about these auctions. What kind of moves do you think GRC should play on it?
Well, I have the same stance on all auctions. They work until people don't bid enough or people stop bidding. Listen, it's always best to have the capital up front to cover liquidations, then have the bad thing happen, the liquidation happen, and then knee-jerk reaction, figure out who's going to buy it after that.
But what you're saying,
so one method is pre-planning. The other method is like a knee-jerk reaction to a liquidation.
And where do you think the market is? A lot of people are fucking myopic as fuck, or very short-sighted. And if I agree with what you're saying sounds very logical. It makes perfect sense, because we see this play out over and over in legacy or in other places, right? We know how people think about things. And if you have a protocol like ICOSA that, say, increases the, things that are coming up for auction, there's definitely the possibility where that could actually affect Hex's price in a negative way if shit is getting liquidated at super low prices, because there's just not enough demand for that in that arena there. Then that could have a ripple effect to Hex in a way.
Yeah, we won't really know until a giant run up happens again, or the top of a bull market. And then we have to see if people are willing to auction. Or if ever there's fear in the markets and people are not willing to bid, you're going to see the value of people's collateral fall way underneath the
What,
value of what.
what's the length? What's the length of time on a Hedron liquidation, on a HSI liquidation? Is that 30 days?
I think it's 90.
Well,
Now
90 days
markets can move a lot, a lot
Jesus Christ.
in 90 days.
No, but it's 90 days until it goes up for liquidation, and then liquidation happens. But I think that lasts for like several days, or a week, or 2 weeks, or a month.
It's an abnormally large amount of time, I remember thinking.
So what Jesse's saying is 100% accurate, and this could create, let's just call it, increased volatility risk for Hex because of that.
We'll see.
We will see.
Hey, what did I say
The
before?
potential for volatility.
What did I say before we started, Jesse? I was like, let's see if we can talk about what we're going to talk about, and I'll just let you go, and then see if Sam figures it out by the end. And I think he figured it out what we were basically talking about. I mean, guys, again, these are all risk on assets. I love to end like this. These are risk on assets. We're playing games. If you're not ready to get your heart broken, don't go out on a first date, baby.
Do we want to talk about taxes real quick?
Absolutely.
Taxes suck, right?
Fuck yes, they do.
Now, taxes can be important if you got to fund like roads and schools and like infrastructure for like a country. Like maybe they're like essential and you have to have them, but nobody really likes them. What's interesting in crypto is people have like these shitcoiners love the idea of paying taxes. They're like, "Ooh, look at this new tax, 4% in, 4% on the way out. It looks like that 4% is going to get burnt or go to this address that's going to go do this or do that. I can't wait to pay these taxes." Right? It's kind of silly that people enjoy paying taxes in crypto, but they don't enjoy paying taxes in the real world. Now, typically every tax coin, something that has a tax on the way in and a tax on the way out, and that tax, at least a portion of it, gets redistributed across the existing holders. These are called proof of weak hands coins, i.e. SafeMoon is the biggest example of that. These things all go to zero. I posted a tweet about why that happens.
Summarize it real quick to understand, give people reference on what the reasoning is behind why they all go to zero.
So Satima is the latest example. Everyone was hyped about that Satima coin. It's down like 98 or 99% now. There's another one that everyone's jumped on the bandwagon for recently. They just love to pay these taxes. And it's going down too. And it's going to fall off the cliff eventually. People get excited because they like the idea of other people having to pay tax and you collecting a piece of that.
And getting to do whatever you want with the other piece. If that's not take the money out, it is to manipulate your product to the upside.
So if you're one of the first buyers, like absolute first buyers, one of the first couple hundred people in one of these protocols or something, you actually stand to make a crap load of tokens, right? When initially your yield is just so insanely high, the first guy that buys, if you're the only buyer and then the second buyer comes along and you get 4% of his buy, and then the next buyer comes along and you get, if that second buyer was equal size to you, now you get 2% of that buy. You see how if you're one of the first people, you actually collect a crap load. But the more people that come into these protocols, the less it all gets spread so thin across everybody that the coin count that you're accumulating from other people's tax is like so minuscule, it means nothing. It's less than pennies. It doesn't actually do anything for you at all. You're actually better to have never paid a tax at all than to hope that you'll recoup what you did pay from other people buying after you, right? So once people realize that, right? So these things top out. They always go up. They go way up until it's too thin. And then nobody's actually making any money off of new people coming in. And that's when everyone starts selling and they go straight to zero.
Yeah, I think
Every single time. It's happened thousands and thousands of coins over on Binance Smart Chain.
It happens to everything. That happens to everything. It just sometimes it takes 80 years and sometimes it takes 6 minutes.
Well, these proof of hands coins, they're literally an accelerated.
Not go up, Sam. Would you buy it? It once Hex gets so heavy that you're going to get a 2x in the next bull, will you buy it?
Probably not.
So yes, we all know that because it's just like we'll be buying some other shit. So it's just like I think Richard kind of spells that out to us too a little bit. He's like, Richard's just playing the fiddle with the rules that they let him play. I don't think that he's necessarily would do that in the world that he created. Do you know what I mean, Sam? Like, I don't think if we had our way, we would have some sort of incentive structure. Everyone would be doing the amazing shit all the time. But like, golly, not easy to do with all the rules. So, and this is all just conjecture, by the way. And we'll get 4 more minutes, guys. You guys got a spicy extra 10 on that one. But you know what I mean? It seems like everything's the greater fool's theory. They lay out a rule book in front of us. We play the rules. And then the smart people know they can't change the world. So they're like, I'm going to make $10 billion and do whatever the fuck I want in a good way. It's like the world's just changing. The currency doesn't work anymore. It's just there's a divide there. And at some point, they're either going to have to make a rule or a law or just give up and switch to a fucking thing that's not going to zero because the US dollar is going to zero. So, I mean, really, it's just like a war right now of finances. It feels like.
Well, there's not a single proof of weak hands coin that succeeds. None of them. There's thousands and thousands and thousands of them on Binance Smart Chain. They all go to zero. They have a massive run up the first, few months, and then it reaches a tipping point, and they all go to zero.
Why
There's no way
Bitcoin not proof of weak hands?
Because it doesn't have a tax in, tax out. It's a simple mechanism of, hey, here's something. This is what it's worth. I hope people buy it after me.
I see.
Isn't the gas a form of a tax?
No, so the fees are different, right? So you got to pay for services on blockchain. So just know that you're going to have a transaction fee every time you do something. Or if you're using a protocol, a fee that gets shaved off to pay for those services, like that's different than a tax in, tax out coin. When we're talking tax in, tax out, we're talking about those coins that charge, 4 up to 10% tax just to buy the thing and 4 to 10% tax just to sell the thing.
Yeah, no, I looked at something called DRIP or something like that 2, 3, 4 months ago. And when you add up the taxes, it's like, oh my God, why would anybody put their money in this thing?
Yeah, but I'm telling you, it's like no one's ever going to know all this information. It just comes down to adoption. And that's what like the whole shit is now. It's like they're just waiting for someone to do it the right way without trying to scam everyone, because you can scam everyone, period, legally.
You know what's worse with these things? There are some tax coins, even some built by our own community, that a portion of the taxes get shaved off to go to charity. What does that mean? That means every single buy, you will get charged a tax. There will be a pool that collects the sum of these tokens and must dump it on your head to fund the charity. So constant dump pressure forever and ever and ever, because you can't give a random ERC20 token to a charity. They can't do anything with it. It has to be sold. So like that's even worse. Like that's worse than SafeMoon or Sadama. That's like, hey, let me create a tax in, tax out coin that dumps on your head continuously.
There are. I agree, but there are sometimes there's stipulations in place where it says, "Hey, this is vesting over some period of time. We'll give you these, but that's a vesting period, right? Where that could be like permanent, as in 20, 50 year type vesting, or it could be something else, right? Because even if you're donating, because people do this with stocks and whatnot, but they'll put a stipulation on that to the charity so that the charity can't sell right away or has to retain the shares for X number of years post the gift being given to them or whatever. But it's probably not happening to some of these ones that you're mentioning. But it is possible that they could do that.
All this shit is manipulatable as S. All you have to do is follow the rules. Nobody cares about anyone's feelings. No one ever. I don't even care about people's feelings. I just don't want my reputation to be ruined, and I would like to have a good life.
When I'm not a maxi. I really like Hex.
Of course.
I believe Hex is similar to Bitcoin, where it's just a store of value, right? And you're incentivized to hold it. You say you're going to hold it for so long, you better hold it for that long. And you want to earn the yield, okay? Then you stake it, you stick to your promise, and then when your coins come out at the end, you'll have more than you started with. Okay, the concept is simple, but it doesn't have a tax in. Okay, it doesn't have a tax out unless, I guess, early end stake penalty. Just stick to your promise, and it's actually a really good store of value. But I'm not a maxi. But what I don't like to do is, when I look at other protocols, I ask myself, is this unique? Does this have a use case? Can people do some stuff with this? Has this been done before? Is there, like, 2 years from now, will people still want to use this sort of thing? Or is this token, simply a tax in, tax out coin with a picture on it? Okay.
I think that if you can get 1 billion people to use it, I don't give a shit what it is.
Is
I'm not
tax a
getting
utility?
it, but I'm saying this is a marketing campaign. We
Is
already
tax a
have
utility?
that works.
Tax is not a utility. You can't look at a coin and look at the tokenomics of, the proof of weak hands model and say, this is a great utility. People are going to want to use this for years to come. So
you have to have a product market fit at least in order to even get the marketing going. So like, you can't have a shit that everyone's like, this is shit. And then they're like, oh, we already got scammed. Everyone already got their shit.
And also, listen, if you look at a coin and all they say is the tokenomics are designed so that it's the taxes are in such a way where you're going to get rich, right? It's only going to go up and to the right because of these taxes. Okay, but still take a step back and say, well, wait a minute, but what does it actually do? Is this a protocol that I can yield farm in? Is this a protocol where I could take a loan out against something? Is this a platform where I can, create collections of NFTs or do this or do that? What's the actual use case? And if the only thing the protocol can tell you is it's going to go up and to the right, it doesn't really do anything, but it's got these cool taxes. We all love taxes. You should probably steer clear of those things.
What is your this is probably going to be the last question and we'll wrap up here. I've seen kind of paying attention to the chat a little bit while we're going through this, and Cult DAO. Have you looked into Cult DAO? It's basically a VC fund to further the growth of decentralization.
Right. Now listen, Cult DAO is a tax in, tax out. Cult DAO also takes a portion of those taxes and invests in other protocols besides its own coin.
And Cult DAO sucks.
So
and
there are Cult DAO people that will hate what I'm saying about this, right? But literally, you get charged a tax. You have money taken away from you that you could have kept, but instead the protocol shaves a tax because they would rather take that money and invest it into other protocols for the hopes that those other protocols will will be able to generate you more value than the protocol you're participating in to begin with.
Once I learned the system as a VC system where they could pick whatever stuff they wanted via their system, I said, I don't want you to pick. I'd rather pick. That's when I was done with Colt. Once I realized, well, like some of the internals of it, I was like, why do they get to pick all these fucking S coins? I could just buy good coins.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like that was my value prop with it. I love the whole make everyone aware about stuff thing, but that's just stupid and it doesn't work. And they listen to whatever's on the TV. So I'm just gonna, like, why do I need a dude to? Well, what are you investing in today? These 5 things. Well, what about this thing? This is your best buddy's the second dev on this thing, and he's the only dude invested in it. It's like, oh, whoops, yeah, that's my cousin. He just gonna send me money in cash.
You're right. So first off, I don't like the tax in, tax out, but wouldn't a better use of that be a buy and burn? Like, if the whole idea is to make everybody rich, why wouldn't you at least? First off, I don't like taxes, but if you were gonna why wouldn't you just take that money and do a buy and burn, and the price goes up? Now everybody's happy, instead of let me chuck it at this protocol over here, and hope that protocol does better than my own coin over here.
Yeah, and
Well,
also
I mean, the idea,
China or any world wars or any coronavirus, because that's going to zero first.
with Cult, I like Cult. I don't own any Cult, but I do like the idea of what they're doing. It is growing crypto, right? Growing decentralization. So it is what Jesse's saying. Something, I don't know if it's 50% or some portion of whatever the tax is goes to just burning the shit, right? Where the other person goes to projects that are increasing the adoption, increasing decentralization.
Listen, what do burns do?
Reduce the supply.
Okay, does that really matter?
It depends if there's active liquidity.
Okay, if the supply was burnt out of the liquidity pools, maybe, right? Look, strong block, they burnt like 90% of the supply, and then the price went down a lot. Like it went from $1,200 down to like $2. Okay, that's after burning 90% of the supply. It did nothing to make the price go up, because the only thing price cares about is the liquidity pool ratios. It could care less if there's liquid coins sitting in some random wallet that get burnt. The price doesn't move at all. People, like, the idea that supply and demand is supposed to work. If people looked at the supply, do you know what the supply of Hex is right now?
No idea.
No. Do you know what the current supply of Bitcoin is?
No idea.
No. What about ETH? ETH inflates. ETH, the supply grows. Okay.
But I think it has more to do with the demand. Like it's all about adoption. That's
where the marketing thing comes in. Jesse, just highlight this for a minute for me. You know that people don't give a shit, because we don't give a shit. All you gotta do is look at the LP pools and make sure everyone.
Nobody gives a shit about the supply
or anything. Not any of the metric. Not one metric. Not even the fact that it's immutable. Not even the fact that it's anything. They want the people on the TV to say, "Go, do it."
That, and if they're doing the right thing, what is the use case of this thing? I want to buy it so I can use it for that use case.
And that's us guys, though. Those are the 5% of the 100%.
So, circling all the way back to Power City, you're going to see use case stuff that, okay, I want to buy this token, not because it's got a tax and this crazy tokenomics that's going to make the price go up. I want to buy this token, and so does everyone else, because I can actually use this stuff inside of the protocol and do things. Liquid loans, similar. Hey, look I can actually do stuff inside of this protocol. I can take a loan out. I can participate in the staking pool or the stability pool, so I can capture some liquidations. I can avoid my taxes. I can do all these different things. It's got a use case. Hex has a use case. You can say, well, it's a store of value. I just got to stick to my promise over here. That's going to be my new Bitcoin. That's my store of value. But all this other stuff, what do you actually do with it besides look at a picture of a dog or a cat or this or that, or it's got some weird Ponzonomic tokenomics to it? Those things may have an initial pump at first, but something will come along that replaces them with slightly different taxation numbers, and that will become the next best thing. So what's going to survive for years and years and years? The protocols that have use case that you can actually go and do things for years to come inside of.
Utility, yes. That's where we're trending in that direction. It might be longer than we would like it to be before we get to that full utopia of like actually providing value.
I'll be
like
dead.
But it does like there's more people waking up to that.
They need another coronavirus monkeypox epidemic and then kill everyone with that or something, and then start over and be like, guys, we gave it a shot. We kind of got to clean it up, redo it, because there's too many. When people are involved and they're going to get the short end of the stick and they make the rules, what does that equal? Like, they're getting the short end of the stick of this deal. Like, they have to make up some ginormous plan in order to like somehow propel themselves into first place in the crypto world. And it's like, it's in the market that they're in, it's just going to zero, but they're just going to keep pumping our bags while they try to figure it out because they're printing out endless money. It's all fucking bullshit. It's all fucking bullshit. You better get your brain on straight and study and just learn about the bullshit. Just dive into the bullshit, get $1 billion out, and go teach people how to be nice. Okay? Everybody, it's your boy, GRC, Sam Stoll. Jesse, thank you so much for coming on, dude. That was an absolutely intellectually, mind-bogglingly stimulating episode.
Jesse, I appreciate you, bro. Thank you for coming on, as always. I know we touched on a bunch of different things. Is there any last words you'd like to say? And then we can do this again in the future
soon. See y'all in Vegas.
Yes.
See y'all in Vegas, guys. Hey, I dropped a tweet below. Retweet that if you like me. That would be awesome. It's just a tweet that I did yesterday. I didn't do any shilling today, so I tried to keep it cool. But I am going on with Freddie Quotes at 1 p.m., which is in 39 minutes. And I just work here, guys. That's all I got to say. I just work here. You could talk to my lawyer and my boss if you need to contact me about any bullshit that you have with other males on the internet. I'm just having a good time out here. I'll be smoking marijuana for that one probably because Jesse just blew my mind, brother. Like, good job, man. That was fun.
It was. Thank you, Jesse. And we'll talk to you soon. I'd like to hear, like, maybe we can dive into more of the details of stuff next time on like what's going down with Power City and like the the different projects. If that sounds interesting to you, I think that would be fascinating to people. Yeah, for sure.
Cool.
Guys, I'm gonna play some advertisements and some music. I hope you can dance along, sing along. If I don't see you at the golf tournament, I'm gonna spank you. All right, so you better be there, and you better get your golf clubs ready and get your drinking cups ready and whatever else we do while we're down there. People keep sending me pictures of mansions. They're not mine. I think I'm going to them. I'm excited. It's going to be a good time. Jesse, we're going to grab a brewski at a minimum. I mean, I have no idea what's going on. I'm just enjoying the party. KSB.TV. You know how that stuff goes, guys. Everyone have an amazing day. Let's do some transitioning out, guys. Boom, boom. Peace out, brother. KSB.TV presents the Pulse Masters Golf Tournament. We have 2 shotgun times, 7:30 a.m. and 1:30 p.m. Registration is 1 hour prior. The Concord course offers a 7,034-yard par 72 layout with Bermuda fairways and large greens. The Spectator Pass is $55. The individual golfer is $195. In the golf foursome, $750. Play Golf Network with others and win crypto prizes. September 5th, 2022. Contact us at ksbtv/golf.
Farming with my stables in the decks. I'm holding IRA and never flex. I'm sticking all this shit on Everest. And I'm balling ECF. Farming with my stables in the decks. I'm holding IRA and never flex. I'm sticking all this shit on Everest. You see, the problem was these epochs. Now I'm printing daily, man, who need that? I check my APR on VFAT. And the regulation printing big stacks. I simple swapped it for some BNB.